This time on DIRTRACKR Conversations, we have our first ever repeat guest. Joshua Joyner joined us back in January to kind of preview the Dirt late model season, but we didn't talk really any hunt the front stuff, which is what the Joyner family has kind of become known for. So this time on the show, Joshua comes on and we talk a whole lot of stuff, kind of about the business of Hunt the Front. They're getting ready to promote their second ever super late model race that's going to happen later this year. So we talk a lot about promoting and getting that together. We also talk about their new shop, kind of the future of what the actual Dirt late model team will look like for Hunt the Front, and a whole lot more. So if you're interested kind of in the business of Hunt the Front and some behind the scenes stuff, this is a great episode. Also a good episode, kind of just generally about race promoting. So please enjoy the next 35, 40-ish minutes with Joshua Joyner. Joining me on the show is RV and travel blogger Joshua Joyner. Joshua, I wanted to ask you about your RV stuff this year, what you did with your wife. We'll just kick that off. Why did you start that channel, and tell me about that experience doing all that stuff?
Well, I appreciate the shout out for that. It's just the Joiners is the name of the
There you
channel. If
go.
anyone wants to go follow it, we haven't posted a video in a couple of weeks, so we're already slacking. But no, it's just something different. We do all the video stuff with Hunt the Front, obviously, and the cool thing about it with Hunt the Front is, it gives us something to go back and watch these videos, and kind of our memories are there, they're captured, right? And so my wife and I had the idea as we were going on getting ready to go on some trips earlier this year, and knew we had a big trip this summer, a month-long RV trip out to the West, that we do the same thing, and kind of, capture the memory, I guess, so to speak, for our kids to look back on when they're older, and us to look back on whenever we're older. So anyway, I think that was kind of the motivation behind it.
Nice. So I had you on. You're actually my first repeat guest that I've had on the show in the whatever 2 years I've
Nice.
been doing this. And I had you on, I think it was back in January, and we didn't talk
Hmm.
any Hunt the Front at all. Like, we basically just talked a whole bunch of other late model stuff and just kind of wanted to get your take on a lot of those things before the season started. But now I kind of want to talk about some Hunt the Front stuff and some different things you guys got going on. And I want to start with, I talked about it last week on my daily show. You guys are going to promote an event later this year at Deep South Speedway. You promoted an event last year at Southern Raceway as well. Talk me through just kind of generally how you guys decide to get involved in race promoting, and how you kind of got started even with that event last year.
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, one thing, we've always wanted to do is kind of help bring, I guess, more late model racing, to our area. It's one unfortunate thing is, we go to all these races we travel to, and have been since we really started the channel and got it going. And as we've kind of expanded and started going to bigger races, there's less and less opportunities to race, closer to home. And it's been that way for a while, where the late model racing, super late model racing, at least, there's some good crate races or racers in our area. And there hasn't been a whole lot of super late model racing. And it's unfortunate. So that's one thing we kind of wanted to help bring back supers to our area. And so we worked with Tom and his crew at Southern Raceway last year, on the King of the Sandbox race. And it did, we were happy with it. It showed in the car count that there isn't a whole lot of supers in this area, and we didn't have a great turnout, but we got some big name guys and a couple of the locals, and put on a good show. And just wanted to try something different this year with another one of our home tracks. So Southern Raceway was where we were last year. It's our hometown, Milton, Florida. Our, I guess you would say our second home track would be Deep South Speedway in Loxley, Alabama, which is just across the state line there on the Alabama Gulf Coast near Mobile, about 45 minutes from us. So it's actually where I started my racing career at years ago. But anyway, so we're going to work with them this year on kind of the same deal, and bring some, hopefully some good super late model racing there this year.
Race promoting is obviously can be a very difficult business, and you guys, kind of from all of the different things you've done, obviously you worked at World Racing Groups, and your involvement with tracks and series and the stuff you guys do with Hunt the Front. When you jumped into doing this last year, were there things that you weren't prepared for? Were there things that surprised you as you got into this?
Oh, absolutely. Like, it was so working with Tom Lowry at Southern Raceway, whenever we first had the idea, and we met about it, and kind of told him it's what we were wanting to do, is to get into a little bit of event promotion. And we worked with him on a couple other events since then. And he kind of warned me, that, hey, this isn't as easy as you think. And he was absolutely 100% correct. Figured that out real quick, that I thought race nights were busy, and as you mentioned, I've done a lot of different stuff, so I've experienced racing from just about every angle you can. But as an event promoter, that was my first time last November there for the King of the Sandbox race. And yeah, it blew my mind how much, like, from having a breaker in the tower, smoking, and you're thinking the tower is about to catch on fire in the middle of your event. It literally could ruin everything with your event. To watching the weather, like, you're just sitting there, every little thing that could go wrong, you're just waiting for it to go wrong. And then just like November, that race, like, I had no idea. Like, I'm so involved with what's going on with the actual racing on the track. Like with Joseph, my brother, with him racing, and the other guys that I follow and everything. And like, I couldn't, at the end of the night, could hardly tell you what happened on the track, because we had there's so much going into it from an event perspective. And I don't envy the guys that do that every week. That's their job, is to make sure, keep all those wheels turning on that side of it, because you don't really realize what else going on.
It seemed like last year things went pretty well. Brandon Overton ended up winning the race, one of the top guys in the sport right now. You guys deciding to do this again this year, how long have kind of discussions been going on? Was this like when you guys got done last year, you're like, all right, we're going to do this again next year? Or was this something that's kind of come up lately? Or, how does that go for you guys to do it again?
Well, it's funny because I've gone back and forth on it. So if you'd asked me so it was a Friday, Saturday night show last November at Southern there. And if you'd asked me on Friday or Saturday morning if I thought the event would happen again, I would have told you absolutely not. Like, I didn't even want to. We just had to, like I said, everything that could go wrong had gone wrong the night before, from the track getting really dusty to the car count wasn't what we wanted. We had really good fan turnout, fan support. To just I was so frustrated with it. But then we showed up Saturday, and it was really a really good night. One of the biggest crowds Southern Raceway's ever had. Came out on Saturday. Overton did win, and it was a pretty good show. One of our locals, Bo Slape, out set the track record, out qualified everybody, and led some laps. And then Overton got by him, so it was pretty cool for our local fan base to see a local driver do well. So anyway, I left there thinking that was a lot of fun. That was a great experience, and I'm glad everything went well. But I didn't really know that I wanted to do it again. But I guess 6 or 7 months later, when it's time to start talking about actually doing it again, I'd kind of forgotten about some of that, and so I guess it just after being away from it a while, or removed from it a while, and I could think more about what we learned and some things we do differently. I was able to see a way that we could do it a little bit better and hopefully less stressful this time around, and kind of just decided that we should do that. And the other reason, really, what the motivating factor for us is, if we don't have this race that weekend, it's by the way, it's the third weekend in November, the weekend before Thanksgiving at Deep South Speedway in Loxley, Alabama there. We won't have raced at Deep South at all this year, and we wouldn't have raced at Southern since February. So it's really, wouldn't have raced within really 4 hours from home all since, but twice this season, and both races were, February and March, excuse me. 3 weekends we raced, but since then we've been on the road so much. So it's almost like, to give us a chance to race close to home in front of our, local fans, and at our home track, one of our home tracks, is kind of what motivated us to do it.
Looking over last year and whatever notes and things that the discussions you guys have had, what are things you want to do different this year versus what you did last year?
Well, I think so. We did move the race from Southern Raceway to Deep South Speedway, and I think Deep South is a newer facility. It's not brand new, but it was quite a bit newer facility, and it's had a lot of work done to it recently since Billy Roberson and his crew, his guys took over the track a few years ago and have just done a lot of work over there. And I think that's one thing that, I thought about. If I feel like we're entering an age or a era in our sport where, it's becoming probably a lot more professionalized. And, when you see these guys that are, million dollar teams, racing, and you're watching them on Flow and XR, when you put on an event that you're trying to get some of those guys like Brandon Overton and, Max Blair and Ashton Winger and some of those guys we got to come last year, and hopefully get those and more this year, you want to put on have a professional, vibe to the event. And unfortunately, Southern Raceways, needs a lot of upkeep, or it's an older facility, and, we didn't really feel like maybe wasn't quite ready for that event again. So that's one thing we changed. Was looking for a little bit from the facility end to fit something that we hope can grow into a every year big event, kind of like we go to Fairbury and Cedar Lake and these these races, all these races we go to, they have to start somewhere. And if you don't, for us, that's our vision, is to grow an event that kind of down the road, many years down the road, and with a lot of work, hopefully can become something like that. So we wanted to kind of have more of a vision for growing this thing in the future, and that's why we we look somewhere else as far as the event goes. I think for us, getting this thing announced and out earlier, like this deal last year didn't even come together until it was actually at the World 100 that I spoke with Mike Rigsby at Flow Racing about it, and having him on board to stream it. By the way, it'll be this is the first public announcement, but this race will be on Flow Racing. So we got that under contract, but hadn't really announced it yet. But yeah, having them on board, and so it was after the World last year that we even got the wheels turning, put it all together. So we're well over a month ahead getting the word out about it, which is my whole goal going to the World 100 in a couple of weeks, is to talk to drivers and try to get a lot of drivers planning on coming down, because you think drivers see announcements and stuff that goes out on Facebook and DirtOnDirt.com and maybe your podcast, but then you go up to them and say, "Hey man, did you hear about the race?" And they're like, "What race? What track and what?" And I'm like, so definitely that's going to be my main objective, is just really getting out there. I know most of these guys from my time in the sport and going to these races. So, really making sure they're aware of the race, and hopefully planning on coming, so that we have a little bit better car count and a few more of the big name guys come down this year.
You guys are actually putting up like some really nice money, 5,000 to win Friday, 20,000 to win Saturday. As the promoter, does it make you nervous to have that much money on the line for one of these shows?
Well, I mean, yeah, a little bit. So first I'll say last year, Tom Lauer at Southern Raceway, we were partners on the event, and this year with the deal at Deep South, Billy Roberson and his team, we're partnered with them on the event. So it's not just us putting our neck out there, it's the track as well. So definitely they're definitely, we appreciate them stepping up and be willing to do that. But we have some great sponsors. Obviously Sweet Victory was our presenting sponsor, Sweet Victory Apparel. She was our Jenna and her crew were our presenting sponsor last year, and we're working, hopefully, I know she's going to be involved in some capacity this year. Hope to have that announcement soon, and a few other sponsors. So I think that's one thing, like I feel like I have a pretty good background on, or grasp of, is how many people like it's going to take to actually clear the gate, from the gate to clear what we're going to put out as far as a payout, plus the other revenues we have coming in between sponsorships and the streaming and all that. So yeah, there's always a chance you could lose money, and it makes you nervous. Like I said, I that is one thing I will, and I'm sure I'll start doing as it gets closer to time. But like, I've never thought about a 28-day forecast before last November or October, and I started seeing how far out can a weather forecast go. And so like literally you're updating every morning. That's what I would do, is wake up and check the weather forecast, even 3 and 4 weeks out. Of course it's way off, and thank God we had just amazing weather that weekend, which really helped. But so yeah, it's nerve-wracking, but I think we're in a position that we can plan and we know about what we can expect as far as turnout and viewership and all that. And so we kind of planned it so that if we do happen to lose money, it's not a lot, hopefully. So yeah,
I know you've worked with Rigsby in the past at Flow Racing, and you guys have done video content stuff with them. Were they just kind of the easy selection when it comes to the streaming stuff? I feel like there's kind of more and more options now that you could have gone in terms of who could put that event on for you. But was that just the easy choice there?
So yeah, I don't know. It was an easy choice because we know. I'll be honest. We can make a lot more money doing pay-per-view. We know that. We feel like, but you kind of have to balance where we at that point, and even this, we have a partnership with Flow. We also have one with XR, and we work with them. But at that point last year, we had been promoting Flow and marketing them for going on 6 months. At that point, we had an ongoing monthly partnership with them, and so we felt like it would kind of be unfair to our fan base to have promoted Flow Racing all year, to go out and buy Flow Racing, but hey, we're going to put on this big event, but we're not going to put it on the platform that we promoted all year. So that was, I guess loyalty to Flow for being a partner, and also, to our fan base for, already having a lot of our fan base jumped on board with Flow for the world, for the big race at Sonoa. And I mean, it was a stretch there where we were racing on Flow Racing for just about every weekend, all through the fall. So it really made sense not to gouge our fan base, so to speak, and others who are already on Flow. And Flow just does a great job. Like there's, like I said, I think that's, if you start talking about the business end of, this stuff, like, and we do some stream our own pay-per-view events when it makes sense. We've worked with, a couple out at Southern Raceway. We were involved with the stream at Buckshot Speedway at the Southern All-Stars race this past weekend. On that end, and we're going to do that more, but we're only going to do that where that makes sense, with races that aren't on one of the major platforms, that most of our viewers and most of, as we feel as racers, as racers and race fans, most people already have. But you got to have to balance that. If you're a promoter looking at, it'd be nice to put on a pay-per-view and you might make more revenue, but your audience is much smaller. So if you're trying to grow an event, Flow Racing, where, there's, thousands of people on there, and thousands of people going to be watching, you're going to be reaching that audience, it kind of behooves you to maybe take a little bit less in the revenue side, to kind of help grow your event and kind of partner with a great company like Flow to do that.
Yeah. I obviously at my time at World Racing Group spent a ton of time working on the Dirt Vision product. So, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of the streaming stuff, and I am very pro streaming. There's obviously all sorts of, opinions and ideas about the, out there about streaming and, revenue shares and all these different things. As you guys are doing this, and obviously you guys are very video forward, your YouTube channel is kind of the centerpiece of all of this, but I'm wondering if there's ever any discussion about not doing a streaming, a stream of your race as it's coming up.
For us, no. I mean, like, I can understand why some promoters would feel that way, or be leery, or a little bit leery of streaming and how it may affect them. But for us, like, I think we're well aware that our audience is, I mean, 10% of our audience is from Australia. Like, they're not coming, by putting on a pay-per-view that they can watch is not, we're not losing any ticket sales there. So and when I say audience, I mean our YouTube audience. And then we have other international countries, people watching from. So for us, like, and I would say major sanctioning bodies and major series where you're pulling in drivers from all over the country. And, we got guys from Australia racing, over here in the States these days. So you're able to draw a much larger audience by streaming, whether it's a pay-per-view or it's Flow Racing. And yeah, you may lose some local folks who, for whatever reason, especially if the weather's cold, or, they don't feel like getting out, maybe you might lose some revenue there at the gate because of that. But I think if you're smart about how you incorporate streaming as a promoter, there's much more advantage to it in almost every case. I mean, I don't think every race should be streamed. Absolutely, there's it needs to make sense. I think, but then there's some factors there. But for the most part, I think if you do it right, promoters should be embracing streaming. And really the growth potential that it offers, like I said, for our event, getting it on Flow Racing in front of thousands of people, is only going to help us down the road, grow it. And I think you've seen that with other, tracks and other events. The Wild West Shootout used to be on Dirt on Dirt. Now it's on Flow Racing every year. That event, I think, is what it is. And the people who go because they probably saw it on, the streaming and saw how awesome it was and wanted to go. So I think it's definitely, I think, you got to weigh the pros and cons, but I think usually the pros, if it's done right, outweigh the cons when it comes to streaming.
I feel like we've seen, a decent amount of racers, over the years, and obviously, currently as well, kind of get involved in promoting races. And, the kind of high level version of we've seen that right now is Larson and Brad Sweet starting the high limit sprint car series.
Mm-hmm.
They're also, working on Silver Dollar Speedway. When you guys are in the position you're in, you guys obviously have a big audience to draw from. Is this just like a natural progression that this is something that was probably going to come up for you guys at some point?
Yeah. I think, I mean, I look at what, Kyle Larson is doing, and those guys are doing with the sprint car stuff. And I mean, I think it's probably motivating. Like, Kyle Larson is a sprint car guy, and he's having to race late models to race for big money. Like the Flow Racing series, these 22,000 to win midweek shows, and probably for him, he was probably wondering why is no one doing that in sprint cars, like, like, or at least not a little bit more. So I think I don't know personally. I've interviewed when I worked for Dirt on Dirt. I interviewed Kyle a few times, but I don't know him personally to know what his motivating factor, but I'm sure it had something to do with it. For us, and I'm sure for Kyle too, there is a little bit of kind of wanting to give back a little bit, I guess. Like, I feel for it, like I mentioned, for us, being able to bring in big time super late model racing to our home area, and an area that doesn't see it. There's, we're doing it hoping to make a profit off the event, but we're also hoping to, for the track to make we're not just going in and leasing the track for as little as we can get and, hoping to make as much money as we can. We're hoping to help the track make money too, so they can, turn around and put that back into the track, hopefully in the local racing. So for us, that's a lot of the motivating factor. And I would imagine there, I know for us and a lot of the racers that get into promoting, and there are quite a few out there, even before, all the streaming stuff, that, took that, that transition, is you probably think you can do it a little better than the people that are doing it. And that's probably, again, you have no idea, like I said, going into that race last November, I had no idea what I was getting into. But at least you think like, hey, if, I can do this and I can, do a better job of it. Maybe that's a little bit of a motivating factor. And that's just say bringing that driver's perspective, I think, and racer's perspective to the promoting side of it. And a lot of times it works. I look at a guy like Ray Cook, who's, was obviously still races and a long time racer, and, promoting his Tri-County racetrack up there, and then the Schaefer's Oil Series, Southern National, Spring Nationals, and I think one of the best regional tours there is right now, or two of the best tours between the Spring Nationals and the Southern Nationals. And I think a lot of that is because he's seeing it from the racer's perspective, and bringing that perspective to promoting has helped him make his series one of the most ideal ones to run for racers.
So it's November 20th, 2022. It's the day after your event. When you come back and look at this thing, what's going to be your definition of success? Is it sold out crowd? Is it 1 million people watching the stream? Like, what do you think your metrics are for saying this was a success?
Well, you mentioned earlier, but as long as we don't, lose a bunch of money, and that's not an issue, then, and maybe even make a little bit, that's always great. But I think the biggest thing is I want fans to leave there, and, and we know that the majority of the fans that we know we get a lot of people from out of town. And last year we did have quite a few, out of town folks, and I'm sure we will again this year. But I hope people leave there. The majority of the people who are from within a, 2 or 3 hour radius of, or closer, having seen some of the, at least a handful of the best drivers, the super late model drivers in the country, race at their home track. Because, that's, like I said, that's kind of the goal is to get those guys down there. And, if it's only like last year was only, 2 or 3 of them, and some regional guys and our local guys, but if we can, keep getting those guys down there and the fans feel like they've seen them and they put on a good show, I think we'll be happy with it and feel like we have, some momentum going into some more stuff we have planned next year, and hopefully doing the event again in November again next year.
I'm curious just kind of generally about the business of Hunt the Front, and you guys are obviously trying to run a dirt late model team in the middle of all of this, right? So it's like there's car maintenance and there's tires to buy and there's, washing to be done and all of the things that every other dirt late model team has to do. But on top of that, you're trying to film, you're trying to edit, you're trying to promote, you've got merch, now you're getting into race promoting. Like, do you guys sleep? Like, how do you guys get all of this done?
I'm glad somebody notices that, and kind of has an idea of how much it is behind it. It's overwhelming. Like, it's we're living the dream. And 3 years ago, before we started this stuff, if you'd have told us this is where we were, we would absolutely think you're crazy. And we're still we're blown away by how far we've come and how lucky we are and fortunate we are. But at the same time, man, it's you hear people talk about burnout. Like, it will wear you down, with all that we have going on. And it's a team, deal. Like, Joseph as the driver and Jesse driving too, but they're working, they're the crew too, with a couple other guys, Jordan, a couple other guys we got that help, and then Jonathan basically does all the video stuff by himself. And then between myself and Jonathan's wife Shadow, we try to keep the business end of it going. We've got a couple ladies that help us in the with the merchandise, like our fulfillment team I'll call it, trying to keep up on that. And we have I would say some, what's the word I'm looking for? Not consultants. What's the,
Like some
I can't,
freelancers?
well, we do have freelancers, videographers, some artwork stuff, but, gosh, someone who gives you guidance and helps you steer you in the right direction. Why am I not thinking of the word, mentor? Anyway, we got a couple
Okay.
mentors. My wife, who's an attorney, is one, and sees a lot from, corporate attorney and a lot of business stuff. And then, people will know him from our, because he runs our merch trailer at a lot of events. Daniel is a really top notch finance guy, and he spends some time with us every month, kind of keeping us on the right track. Because, I mean, anyone who's been into racing knows, like, you can spend, it's really easy to spend more than you have, and even though we're doing well, and fortunate to have the sponsors and the partners, and, everyone on our Patreon, the fan club stuff, to have that support, man, it goes quick. And if you're not careful, you'll burn yourself out from working too hard, and you'll spend, you'll blow through your funds if you're not careful too. So, yeah, it's a lot. And, every day I feel like it's a new challenge, with what we're doing. Like, there's something, something new that, almost like fires that have to be put out, or stuff that has to be taken care of. But, it's also kind of fun and rewarding when you see how, see it growing. This thing that's kind of just us and some friends and family working on it, and really turned it into actually what feels like I said, it's a business. It's an organization. It's not just a few guys, having fun on the weekends and in the shop. Like, it's a lot to it, and everyone plays their part. And, whenever things go well, it feels rewarding for all of us, I think.
How do you guys decide in terms of like the late model team itself? And, we've seen you, through your videos, upgrade trailers and trucks and different things. And, how do you decide when you're going to kind of invest in certain things in the race team? Is that like you guys get together and say, okay, we've got this amount of money. What do we want to fix? So, what do we want to make better? And obviously in the middle of all this, you're trying to be competitive. So it's, you want to
Right.
make sure you've got good stuff for the late model. So how do you make those decisions?
Um, Honestly, not as thought out as it should be. I'll tell you, like, like I mean, I'll be honest. Like, we got a new race car from Capital. We, upgraded our truck, toter, home, and we, signed a lease on a new building to move into. Not new, but a new to us building to move into, all, late springtime. And, then, it came a time there where we were getting ready to go on a lengthy trip over the summer, a couple lengthy trips, where it's like, we did not think that through. Like, we just spent all that and really overextended ourselves. And, like, it's we're, none of us are business people. Like, people, that's where I'm trying to fit in and trying to help, is with the whole crew, is kind of being more business minded. And, we look back on that, and it's like, why did we think that was a good idea? And why didn't we plan a little more, like, plan for that a little more? But you manage to get through it. And thankfully we have. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough. Like, the race car stuff, I'll be honest, like Capital race cars, they kind of wanted us to get a new one. They had done some changes, and we worked really close with Capital, Marshall Green and Shane Clanton and those guys. And they, we were in our older cars, both our cars, all before that, were, I think the newest car we had was a late 2018. And so at that time, we had a new car and just couldn't get it right, last year. And so they wanted us to get one. They did some changing and wanted us to get the one for this year. And, so that was we were in line for that, and it came about when it did, and we did. And the truck, we had to have it. We knew we were getting ready to go to Wisconsin, and, to Eldora, and multiple big trips. And we're driving a single axle, truck that can hardly get up down the road, pulling that big. I mean, it's great for, what we were, a year and a half ago. But for a team that's trying to travel all around the country, we needed a truck with more horsepower and dual axles. So, tandem axles. So, I don't know, you just kind of you gotta try to be smart about it, and not overextend yourself. Because I mean, we're on a budget, believe it or not. So, it's, you got to be smart about it, and not get yourself in a bind. And we've, done okay so far, I guess.
As a dirt late model team, we've watched you guys go from, running very regionally, crate shows, all the stuff. And I mean, now, like you said, you guys went and ran USA Nationals this year. You're competing at Eldora. You're traveling a lot more. Is there a point in the future where Hunt the Front is a, touring with Lucas, touring with the Outlaws? Is that where you guys are headed? Have you talked about that stuff?
Oh, we talk about it all the time, and I think any racer, growing up or coming up and having aspirations to to race professionally, or I think that's the goal. You see those guys out there running national tours and everything, and you think that's where you want to get to. But and I would say if you'd asked us that a year ago, we'd have probably said, yeah, that's what we're hoping to do. But man, after this year and what little bit of national traveling we've done, we obviously we're not following a tour, but we've gone on these trips, that have kind of felt like national touring when we've been able to. It has been it's hard. It's the guys that are doing it, and especially the guys that are doing it with the families and with kids and everything. Like it's like, I mean, and on their spouses, like it's not people say living the dream, but it's not easy. And all of us have families, have kids. Jesse, he's getting ready to have his first child, him and Bethany, early next year, and I've got 3 kids myself. Jonathan has 2, and Joseph has a baby, almost a little over 1 year old. So I don't know, man. Like, it's hard to say, yeah, we're just gonna go run a national tour when you know what that means. After the year we've had and what little bit of traveling we've done, you realize that means a lot of time away from your family. And thankfully, it's getting to the point that you don't really have to do that. We've seen Jonathan Davenport. While yes, he's been obviously this. I think it's crazy how much he's raced this summer. But you look at he took quite a bit of time off in the spring, and he's making up for it. In the summer, racing a lot in the summer, but you don't have to follow a national tour to race for good money these days. So I don't know. Like, we're kind of playing it by ear. I'll go ahead and tell you we're not planning on running a national tour next year, or at least we haven't talked about it. We've talked about in the future, but right now it's more just kind of gonna wait and see how things go come January, with Jesse having his baby and a couple other things about to come out. But we'll see. I won't say it's never gonna happen, but right now it's kind of like we just don't feel like we're ready for that, to be honest with you. So.
I would imagine that, there is a hunt the front effect when you guys show up to a racetrack. And do you guys have promoters, racetrack owners calling you saying, hey, I got a race going on this weekend. You guys going to come through? Is that something that happens to you guys?
Yeah, we do quite a bit. I feel like it's pretty cool when we have that, when tracks reach out to us, series reach out to us, and promoters reach out to us. I will say, as a promoter myself, promoting this event out here like last November, any promoter not doing that, whether it's us or whether it's Tyler, Brandon Overton, Zach Dome, any guy at any level, you should be reaching out to them and asking them to come, because it just, it makes them feel good about it. And even if they can't come to that event, it you're at least on their radar, right? So I mean, as a promoter, don't you need to reach out to drivers and try to get them to your track. I feel like, especially for big events, like that. But yeah, for us, it helps. When we know we can help bring folks to the track and help sell pay-per-views or streaming subscriptions. So yeah, whenever a track or streaming company or somebody wants to work with us, we're definitely willing to try to make that happen and try to help out everyone involved. So it's pretty cool to be at that level where folks recognize that.
Yep. I'll let you go here pretty quick. I want to ask about your building and kind of like what your current setup is. Like, I know you've got your shop, and then I know you kind of got your merch area, but you guys got this building, and, kind of talk me through the setup you have now, and then where you're going with this new building, and when we're going to see you in that new building.
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy, because I think we signed the lease on the building. I think it was in May. And it's like, we thought, well, we'll be in it within a month or whatever. And now it's going on September, almost September now. So, it's right now the race team is working out of a 3-bay garage. I think it's like 1,200 square feet or something like that. In Jonathan's backyard, his house, it does have a nice lean-to that makes it, doubles the space, with some outdoor space. But it's very cramped with 4. We have to keep 1 car in the trailer, in the toter, because in the stacker, because we don't have enough space for all 4 cars. And then we have a little small, like 1,000 square foot, unit in a strip mall in town, where we do our merchandise and where we record our podcasts and have a little studio set up there. But yeah, we got a new place. It's kind of funny because the place it's got a like a checkered flag, as a checkered exterior. Anyone's seen our videos and maybe seen the pictures, seen it. That's because it used to be, it was a welding shop way back in the day. And my dad actually, was funny, it was one of his first jobs after high school was working at that welding shop back in the late 70s, early 80s. So it's kind of, it's been there forever. And then it was like a race car parts and working on cars place for a few years. So it's kind of always been there, and there's not a whole lot available for commercial or any kind of real estate in this area in Florida. I imagine I know it's like that in a lot of places. But that place became available at a decent price, and so we got it. It's two buildings, so side by side, are kind of perpendicular. So one's going to be the shop, and one's going to be the merchandise area and storage area. It's just taking a lot longer than expected to get everything set up. We were out there last week. Jonathan posted a picture of it, but we were having to cut down trees to make room for the truck to get in and out, and you had to lift Jesse up on the backhoe way up in the air, and it was kind of sketchy. But and I'm glad I wasn't the one up there, but to cut a limb off of a tree. But yeah, it's been between trying to travel and keep the racing going and the business going, and also trying to build out and work with contractors to get the stuff done over there. It's been a lot, but hopefully our plan is to, after we get back from Eldora, to be because we're getting ready to go to Bristol to do the Cletus McFarland Bristol 1000 stuff this weekend, Labor Day weekend, and then we're going straight from there up to Eldora. So hopefully after we get up back to Eldora, we'll be moving into that place, hopefully.
Is this going to be like where people can like come visit you? Like, are you going to have like a storefront in
well, we've talked about it having, I don't know that it would just be like, just, hey, show up whenever you want or anything like that.
Hunt the Front USA?
Yeah, I don't know if we're quite like that, but we've talked about doing like, scheduled tours or something like that. I mean, obviously we wouldn't want to do that where we are now in Jonathan's backyard. But this place is a little more public. We might do that. We're also, so for our race in November, we're talking about like the Wednesday before the race. So there'll be a practice on Thursday and then race Friday and Saturday. The Wednesday before the race, we're talking about, I think we're going to try to do like an open house type thing. So we are, like I said, about an hour from Deep South, but folks who are able to kind of, make the trip down and maybe come down a couple days early can kind of come hang out with us or something like that. Have a housewarming, shop warming, whatever you can call it, party before the big race weekend.
Well, I'll let you go, but where can we see, the cars here coming up? What's your schedule looking like? I know you said World 100 and the Bristol deal this weekend, but for the next at least few weeks, where can we see you guys?
Honestly, we're just trying to get through Bristol and Eldora because it's been so much. Getting ready for those events, the Cletus McFarland event there at Bristol this weekend, for the Bristol 1000. Joseph, I guess Joseph's going to be driving one of the Crown Vics there with all the YouTube stuff there. So that'll be pretty cool. And then we'll go up to Eldora. The weekend after that, we're either I think it's either Magnolia Motor Speedway with the Comp Cam Series or East Alabama with the Southern All Stars. Hadn't decided yet. Just saw that there's a 50,000 to win crate race at Virginia Motor Speedway. I think the weekend after that we're probably going to either go there or race for the World of Outlaws at Boyd's. And then, I don't know, like we were looking at it and it's like, we'll be racing pretty much every weekend until PRI. Like,
wow.
It's yeah. And so, yeah, it's kind of, except for that. Well, we were talking about taking Thanksgiving off, but now there's supposed to be a 20,000 win crate show at Cochran. We'll probably go to. So it's crazy how much racing's going on. And, how much, like in good races that you kind of, you hate to miss any of them. So it's hard to take a weekend off, and especially when you're running well. And last few weeks, the end of our Midwest trip there and here last weekend at Buckshot, we've really gotten, found some things on the car and got it running well. So we want to hopefully go up to Eldora and do well, and then keep on going from there.
If people want to get tickets, like, what are the kind of all the things they need to know about your race coming up? Like, is there going to be an on sale date? What's all the details there?
I don't know if we're going to do a pre-sale deal. We did that last year. We'll see. Just stay tuned to, obviously we'll put it in our videos if you watch on the front, our Facebook page and the track's Facebook page, Deep South Speedway. We'll announce everything on there. All the details are still coming together as far as support divisions and and like I said, the streaming deal is going to be on Flow. Getting that here first, and then like I said, it'll be a 5,000 to win. Yeah, 5,000 breaking news. It'll be a 5,000 to win, 500 to start Friday night for super late models, and then 20,000 to win, 1,000 to start Saturday night for supers. So and Deep South Speedway it's like a half hour from Orange Beach and Gulf Shores. Is beautiful Alabama Gulf Coast. Usually that time of year is really nice. So we've already got people telling us they're booking hotels on the beach, booking campgrounds, and going to make a trip out of it. I personally suggest coming down to Sonoa, we'll be there at Sonoa Raceway for the Peach State Classic the weekend before our race, the second weekend in November there, and then just come on down, hang out on the beach for the week, and then come to Deep South the following weekend and race for our race. So racers, race fans, go ahead, put it on your calendar, come on out and enjoy a nice into the season down on the coast.
Nice. So make sure you are following, subscribing, all of those things to Hunt the Front across social media and YouTube. Where can we get Hunt the Front merch?
HTFmerch.com.
HTFmerch.com. There you go. All kinds of great merch stuff there. So check that out. Joshua, thanks for the time.
Hey, man. Appreciate it.